Hi, today we're going to look at the most basic elements that you're going to need to know when it comes to analyzing a passage for rhetorical analysis. So, diction, tone, and denotation and connotation. You probably have heard these before, which is why we're kind of doing this review as a video at home, but it's very important that you keep these in the forefront of your mind when you're analyzing a passage. Quick note, when you are doing a rhetorical analysis, it is much more important that you're able to analyze something basic like diction and tone, denotation and connotation, rather than, and do that well, rather than analyze something a bit more complicated like metonymy or palatotone. And if you don't know what those are, we will talk about those. But it's better to do the simple ones well than try to stretch yourself and do something fancy. So please keep that in mind. So quick review over diction, tone, and denotation and connotation. So diction is word choice. Ways to describe it could be formal, informal, abstract, concrete, colloquial, which means conversational. The most important thing when thinking about diction is that you always need to ascribe an adjective to diction. Formal diction works. It's not okay to say the author uses diction. Everyone who uses words uses diction. So what kind of diction is it? Tone, as we know, is the writer's attitude toward his or her subject, characters, or audience. Just like with diction, you need to ascribe an adjective to whatever the tone is. You just can't just say that the writer uses a tone. When doing a rhetorical analysis, it's always good to start with this. There are a lot of things that you can analyze within tone. You can talk about how irony creates the tone. You can talk about how contrast creates the tone. And we'll talk about a strategy to do that. But don't think that if you're analyzing tone, you cannot talk about some of those other things that you notice. So, a good strategy to analyze tone, which you may have seen before, is DIDLS, and it's an acronym for Diction, Imagery, Details, Language, and Syntax or Sentence Structure. And we'll talk about that more in depth later. We're not going to talk about each one of those now, but keep in mind that when you're analyzing tone, DIDLS is a good strategy to use. Some possible ways to describe tone, and there are many, many other, but these are just a few. Condescending, complimentary, apologetic. This word here, didactic, is one that if you don't know, I would highly suggest writing down and looking up because it's a word that you'll want to know. Restrained is another one. If the author's holding back, then they might have a restrained tone. Okay, denotation is the literal dictionary definition of the word. So the reason to know denotation is to know the connotation in contrast to that, and we'll talk about that next. To remember denotation, just remember that it starts with a D, so denotation is a dictionary definition. So school has a literal definition that you can find in the dictionary. The connotation may be different, and we'll talk about that. Happy has a literal definition. So connotation is the opposite of that. So connotation is meanings or ideas associated with a word based on context or individual experience. So school, while it has a certain dictionary definition, may have different connotations for different people depending on what their experience has been. If someone loves school, it's going to have a more positive connotation. If someone has had bad experiences in school, it's going to have a more negative connotation. So if you look at these two words, ocean and love. Ocean is a large body of salt water. I'm sure there's a more technical definition, but that's what it is. Love is a certain kind of feeling you can have towards someone. But these words, importantly, have meanings associated with them. Both of them are typically used metaphorically. You know, there's a vast ocean of people out there, or Love Stinks is a song hopefully we all know. So the feelings associated with the word are the connotations. So think for a moment, and you can pause if you need to. What are some connotations of cheerleader? Okay. For some people, cheerleader will be associated with school and someone who wears a uniform and cheers for a sports team with, cheers that they've been taught and the whole team knows. For other people, a cheerleader might be something more related to the song that's popular right now, someone who is always there for someone and who's always encouraging them. Okay, those are different connotations of cheerleader. And I want you to think about what is the difference between the denotation and the connotation of Rams. Okay, so being from St. Louis, we know that Rams is a sports team, hopefully here to stay, maybe not. But ram is also an animal. So the literal definition of a ram, the denotation, is that it is an animal with swirly horns. The connotation is that it is a sports team. We associate something different than maybe everyone else would. Okay, now I want you to think about one last thing. What is the connotative difference between cheap and inexpensive? Okay, now when looking at these two words, when you're looking at the difference of connotations between two similar words, both of these probably have the same denotation. They both mean not costly. Cheap, however, has a more negative connotation. That implies low quality, and there may be other things associated with it as well. Inexpensive has a more positive connotation. Inexpensive simply means that you're saving money on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is low quality. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Please come to class with this knowledge in mind, and we'll do some review and do a little bit more practice with each of these things. If you have any questions, please feel free to bring those to class tomorrow. Thank you.